Hey, welcome to day 8 of this Relation Fit series. Today we're going to be talking about the art of forgiveness. I just realized something, that I've been in ministry over 20 years. I've been in ministry since I was 18 years old, and as the time of recording this, I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 at the end of this year, and I'm like, that's crazy. And so it's mind-blowing to me. And here's why I'm telling you that. Here's something that I've learned is throughout my years in ministry, the thing that always is the hardest yet the most fruitful principle that I see move hearts, move the needle, change lives is the art of forgiveness. If you give a sermon and it's about forgiveness, it's going to do something if you deliver it in truth. It just is. It always is something that we're constantly working on. It's something that's constant in people's lives. It always hits, always makes an impact every single time. I've seen it over and over and over again in ministry. It is the consistency without fail that topic is going to make moves. And so it also means that it's the most difficult, which is why it's the most impactful. And I know that forgiveness can only exist in the context of relationships. Now, this is my favorite part of 1 Corinthians 13. This is what it says. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It is not boastful. It is not arrogant. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not irritable. Here it is. You ready? And does not keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never ends. Love does not keep a record of wrongs, which means that love forgives. That unforgiveness and love are on opposite ends of the spectrum. That if you're going to love in a relationship, you have to forgive. It's part of it. It's how God initiated his relationship with you and with me. For God so loved the world that he gave, right? It's because of his love that he gave us. But God demonstrated his love toward us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Like God's love is who he is. Love is to God. God is to love as water is to wet. It just is what it is. And he initiated our relationship through love because he is love. And we carry that in our own relationships through the art of forgiveness. There's a story in the Bible, John chapter 21. Let me set the scene for you before I read this story to you. And the scene is this. Jesus is at the Last Supper, and he institutes communion. He says, this is my body, which will be broken for you. This is my blood, which will be shed for you. And then he says, there's going to come a time where all of you abandon me tonight. And Peter's like, hey, all these other guys might leave you, but not me. Not me. I got your back. And Jesus said, Peter, before the rooster crows in the morning, you'll have denied even knowing me 3 times. And Peter said, never. Well, the story goes on that 3 times Peter denied knowing Jesus that night. He followed him into the courthouse of the high priest and even swears and curses about not knowing Jesus because he was scared. He was scared that he would be killed, taken, beaten. And so he denied 3 times. Immediately the rooster crowed after his 3 denials. And Peter remembered And he wept bitterly and left that place. All of a sudden, Jesus shows back up. When he shows back up, he shows up first to Mary Magdalene. And he says this to Mary, the angel does, "Go tell the disciples and Peter what you've seen." As if Peter wasn't part of the disciples anymore. As if his denial had separated him from this fold of following. It was like Peter decided, I'm no longer going to be a minister, a disciple, a follower of Jesus. I'm going back to be a fisherman to where Jesus found me. I'm going to go do what I did before because he's not here anymore. He's gone. There's no one else to follow. I'm going fishing. And it's as if he's not one of the group anymore, the way that it's labeled in Scripture. In fact, in John chapter 21, we see this, where Peter says, I'm going fishing. It's 21 verse 3. I'm going fishing. Simon Peter says to the disciples, well, we're coming with you, they told him. And they went out and got in the boat, and they didn't even catch anything. Things went from bad to worse. And so it's interesting because Jesus has shown up before. Remember, he showed up and everyone saw him but Thomas. Thomas wasn't there. Thomas is like, oh, I won't believe until I see the scars in his hands and put my hand in his side. And all of a sudden there's Jesus, and Jesus is like, hey, Thomas, I'm right here. Would you like to touch? And Thomas is like, no, I believe, my Lord and my God. And Peter is there. That had to be awkward. Of like, hey, sup? Like, yeah, I know you saw me. I know you heard me. What you said was going to happen. He's like trying not to make eye contact with Jesus, or he's like, when they're all standing there, I just picture like, John and Philip and Bartholomew, all these guys, right? And here's Peter like kind of in between them looking at Jesus like, hey, like here's a head. And Peter's like behind them like, hey, how's it going? Like awkward, right? And then John 21 happens, and Peter is being his normal self, and I'm going fishing. See, because what happens is a lot of times in our relationships, when we mess up, you're going to mess up in your relationships. When you mess up, your default is going to be to revert to the old habits that you used to have because of self-pity. I'm telling you, watch what happens when you mess up in a relationship. You're going to revert to old habits that you grew out of, old lifestyles that you grew out of. You're going to default to who you were before. We just do this. It's a mind thing. And maturity pushes through that hesitancy we have. It pushes through the tension. It doesn't lean back to what is easy, but strives toward what's new and the hard. It leans into the hard things that are going to make it better and restore the relationship. Unhealthy relationships are what cause reversion. When we are unhealthy in and of our own selves, and we're not confident in who God called us to be, oftentimes our instinct is to revert. So that's where Peter is, and he does that. And they catch absolutely nothing all night. I'm like, you had one job, and he didn't catch anything. So then there's this guy on the shore, and this guy's like, hey guys, did you catch anything? And they're like, nah, not a thing. He says, throw your nets on the other side of the boat. Now, I don't know if you know how the ocean works. I used to live on the ocean. I used to go fishing multiple times a week on the ocean. If you have a net in a boat, it's the same dang water on this side as it is on that side. The fish don't stay in one spot, they swim. What difference does it make? And I think the disciples, almost out of humor and sarcasm, are like, okay, let's do it. And so they threw the nets out on the other side, and they caught so many fish that the boat couldn't even hold itself. It was all tipping and stuff. Peter immediately knew who it was because he knew it's not normal. Only Jesus. Takes off his outer robe, dives in the water, swims all the way to shore. And Jesus said to them, come have breakfast, guys. I made some fish. And so Jesus feeds them breakfast while they come cook some of the fish that they had just caught. And this is where we see this interaction where we learn about the art of forgiveness. When they had eaten breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter. He said, hey, Simon, time out. Jesus had already changed his name to Peter, which means rock, based on the declaration that Peter said, which was, you are the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Based on that declaration, Jesus said, in your name, I tell you that flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I give you a new name, Peter, which means rock, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And so after that declaration, Jesus changes his name from Simon to Peter, but he doesn't address him as Peter here. He says Simon, as if you're no longer living as the rock. You're no longer living as Peter. You've reverted to fisherman, Simon, so I'm going to refer to you as who you were before I changed your name, because that's how you're currently living. And so he calls him Simon. Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Now, is he talking about, do you love me more than the disciples love me? Is he saying, do you love me more than the fish? Do you love me more than fishing? Because that's what you reverted to? I think he's asking about the disciples. The reason that I think he's referring to the disciples is because of Peter's denial. Remember what Peter said. He said, if all of these guys deny you and leave you and forsake you, I won't do that. I would never do that, even though they might. And Jesus confronts the issue as only Jesus can. He's appeared a couple times, and Peter didn't address the issue. So now Jesus is addressing it. Hey, Peter, or Simon, do you really love me more than these? What does Peter say? He said, yeah, Lord, you know I love you. Notice he didn't say more than these. He said, you know I love you. Feed my lambs, Jesus told him. He asked him again, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know that I love you, Peter said. And he asked him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was grieved that the Lord asked him the third time, do you love me? And he said, Lord, you know everything. You know I love you. Feed my sheep, Jesus said. Truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you would tie your belt and walk wherever you wanted. But when you grow old, you'll stretch out your hands and someone else will tie you and carry you where you don't want to go. He said this to indicate by what kind of death Peter would glorify God. And after saying this, he told him, follow me. 3 times Peter denied Jesus. That's 3 offenses in the relationship. 3 betrayals in the relationship. Not 1, not 2, 3. 3 times that he betrayed Jesus. How many times did Jesus ask him, "Do you love me?" 3 times. How do we know they're directly related? Because he first references what Peter said when he told him that he would deny him. "Do you really love me more than these?" And then the word love there changes. It changes to 3 different forms of love, each one getting deeper as Jesus asked it. He asked him on a shallow level, on a medium level, and then he says, "Do you really, truly, unconditionally love me?" Every time he asks, it goes deeper and deeper. Every time Peter denied Jesus, it got more intense. The final time, it says that he passionately swore, meaning cursed, as he said it. The same level that Peter messed up, Jesus met him with an even greater level of love. "Do you love me?" And then gave him an assignment. Then continue the work that I've started. Continue what I'm doing. You haven't lost your assignment because you betrayed me, because you sinned against me, because you denied me. You hurt me. But forgiveness makes all of that better. My forgiveness is not dependent upon whether or not you obey me or not. My forgiveness is not dependent upon whether or not you deny me. My forgiveness is not dependent upon how you've wronged me and how many times you wronged me, because for every wrong, I've got another level of love and another level of forgiveness. Feed my sheep. And then he says this, follow me. The last thing he says, follow me. In other words, remember how this started, Peter. The invitation's still there, but it's your choice. Follow me. Come back into this relationship. And after that, we see him being called Peter again, and we also see him being a part, not just a part of the disciples, really leading the disciples at that point, as we see in Acts chapter 1 and 2. And it's all because Jesus extends forgiveness. Let me ask you a question. No matter the wrong that was done to you in the relationship, are you ready, like Jesus, to give an extra level of forgiveness? To restore that relationship? Saying, hey, remember how this started? Come back. Follow me. Come back into this relationship. And no matter what, it's time and time again. And what do? Fool me once. Shame on me, right? Eventually, once you get to 3, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I should have known. But what if there's fool me once, you're forgiven. Fool me twice, you're forgiven. Fool me 3 times, you're forgiven. Call me a fool and that's fine. Call me dumb, that's fine. Keep hurting me and I'll keep forgiving you. Because that's all I know to do, because that's all God keeps doing to me. Because every day I wrong him in some way. I'm unfaithful to him in some way every day, and he still pursues me, and he still loves me, and he still gives me the invitation to follow him. And that's the level of forgiveness that we're called to live out in our relationships. How you doing in that? That's hard, but it's what it looks like to follow Jesus. You cannot follow Jesus and hold on to unforgiveness at the same time. You cannot do that. Because either you're leaving one for the other or leaving the other for the one. There are some journal prompts below to help you evaluate this in your life and how you can be a better forgiver and really exercise the art of forgiveness. Take it seriously and put it into action, not just a good thought. Do something with it today. And I'll see you on our walk as we learn 3 important things about forgiveness. Peace.